Hello and welcome to the talk show. I'm Mary Kostakidis. A variety of terms have been used to describe my guest tonight: the Lion of Lahore, the master strategist, the great motivator, and cricket's true internationalist. If they don't appeal, he's also been described as cricket's foremost sex symbol. To some people, he's the future president of Pakistan. To others, the world's most eligible bachelor. Imran Khan, thanks for joining me on the program and welcome to Australia.
Thank you very much.
Imran, the purpose of your visit is to raise money for the cancer hospital that you're building in Lahore. Now, what stage is the hospital at and how much more money do you need?
The building is almost complete. We are still finishing the hospital from within. I mean, there's a lot. The air conditioning is being done. The walls, everything. Before we install the equipment, we have to make sure that there's no dust, no work going on, because it's very sensitive equipment. So we're getting there, and we hope to open this year.
So money for equipment, how much more do you need?
Our target was about $22 million, and we have raised almost $15 million. And by the end of this year, I'm convinced we will raise the $7 million required.
And how are you raising funds in Australia?
Well, I have dinners. Kerry Pecker has very kindly consented to co-host a dinner. So that's going to be a good evening. Then there have been a few functions organized here.
You've been committed to this hospital since your mother's death from cancer some years ago. In fact, you've said that the driving force behind you wanting to win the World Cup was to raise money for the hospital. Tell me a little bit about her. Describe her to me.
Well, of course, her death and her suffering from cancer made me realize that in Pakistan, the rich people can go out of the country for treatment, but the poor people, you know, what do they do when they get cancer? And it was that question when I asked myself, and I suffered myself, my family suffered. So we became aware of suddenly what happens to the poor man. And that's when this idea came, and that's when I decided I wanted to do it. But how to go about it took me 4.5 years to conceive a plan. And I didn't really launch the charity till November '89. Since then, it sort of started gradually. And then it's now all-consuming. It takes all my time. All I do is work for the hospital, not just the fundraising. I'm involved, you know, in day-to-day matters. I'm on the management committee. I'm, as a board of governor, involved in the hospital project completely. So it's not like a pet charity, you know, which celebrities are supposed to endorse. It's a complete passion.
Sure. Well, mothers are important in everyone's life. What was she like?
Well, she was someone who gave me love, not only me and my sisters, gave us security, gave us all her attention, gave us our values.
So what's her legacy to Imran Khan? What did she teach you?
Really the value system and the love she gave me, because you see, love is very important because it gives you security in life. You know, the mother's love, I think no father can replace it. And then with the love, she gave a value system, which is very important, you know, pride and self-esteem, you know, so they were very important values she gave me.
It's often said that in partners, we look for qualities that our parents had. What sort of woman appeals to Imran Khan?
That's very interesting. I never looked at it that way. But I certainly, I mean, if I would want to marry, certainly someone must have the same values as me, the same direction in life. I mean, if the other person wants the glamorous or the glittery life, or a life of materialism, then I'm not the right person.
So what are the important things?
You see, I find that, you know, God had privileged me to be in such a position where I can do something for the underprivileged. You see, I see life as a race. There's some people who are privileged and others not so privileged who can compete in the race, and there's some who cannot. And the responsibility of the ones who have these extra talents, whether it's talent in sport or talent to make money or whatever, then they have a responsibility towards these less privileged people. So I feel that I have been privileged. I have got whatever I wanted in life. And so therefore I should help those, in my country who are suffering, like the poor people, cancer sufferers, and later on I hope literacy, which is falling in Pakistan.
Tell me, the Playboy tag, now was that a media beat up, or was that a part of Imran Khan in the past?
I suppose I was a cricketer, and I led a cricketer's life, which was cricket and nothing else mattered. And you have to have that to succeed in anything. It has to become an obsession. Cricket was an obsession to me, and I actually did not think that much outside the game, except that I was educated. I suppose I was privileged from the other cricketers because I had a very good education. But I was full-time concentrating on the sport to excel in it. And in that, I suppose, Playboy, I wasn't married, I was successful, and it fitted in a sort of, I always believe that newspapers write what makes a good story, and it made a good story. Although, I didn't have that much money to lie about and, like a Playboy should, or I never had the time.
Well, now you said professional cricketing was incompatible with marriage and cricket was an obsession. Now the hospital's an obsession. Are you substituting one obsession for another? I mean, when is Imran Khan going to get married?
Okay, let me put it another way. You see, marriage, we are told in this society that marriage, is necessary. Up to a large point, I agree with it. I agree that, we need marriage, we need family life. I grew up in a very strong family unit, very close to my sisters, and I watched them, all them sort of growing, making their children grow up as one family. I mean, one sister's children will be with the other sisters or spend the night. I mean, it's like one family growing up, and I think that's wonderful. But you see, at the same time, I believe that once you do get married, it's no big deal to get married or have children, but to make a success of your marriage, and certainly to bring up your children as proper human beings, not as an ego, that I've produced these replicas of myself, but to make them grow up as proper human beings is success. That is a successful person or people. And I find that I never had the time, so I mean, if I had the time and if I felt I could devote the time and bring them up as proper human beings, I would get married. But at the moment, it never has been the case.
You've said that you admire strength of character in both men and women, and that the trouble with the West is that men and women are in competition and they really should be complementing each other. Now, is this complementing of each other only possible in a rigid social code where roles are clearly defined?
Well, I'll give you an example of my sisters. 4 sisters. One is a PhD in economics, works for United Nations. One is a surgeon. One is a master's in business administration, and one is a graduate. Now, the younger 3 are married. Now, what they did was, and that's how I would like to see, if I get married, the woman sort of follow this example, that they first brought up their kids, and whatever work or education they did, they finish it at home. And now one of the sisters, well, her children are old enough, and now she's pursuing a job. So I'm saying that the jobs are flexible, but the roles are clearly defined. First, your responsibilities. I mean, I can't be a mother, just like a woman perhaps can do both roles, but a man can't be a mother. It's a very, very specialized role. We are not equipped for that. So if 2 people are both trying to be fathers, who's going to bring up the children? That's what I mean.
How important is religion? You're a devout Muslim.
Way of life, I mean, religion is part of my life. But you see, people here in the modern Western world, particularly, religion has a strange connotation that it is, your life is one side, religion is the other side. For me, religion and life is one and the same thing. Eating good food is appreciating it is religion. Appreciating nature, I mean, that's all religion. It's just you live through certain code of behavior. And I wish that people more had religious views, because religion values, all religion values, are anti-materialism. And what has happened, I'm sorry to say, in the modern world, is that materialism has become our God. And that has its very poor consequences on the world, because as a result, people exploit each other. You know, to procure cheap oil, you can kill 250,000 people. And yet, you know, there are people being condemned and killed, and the worst type of ethnic cleansing. And because there was no self-interest, no one was interested for such a long time and watched people being butchered.
You've said that Islam has a very negative image in the West. Now, how has it been misrepresented by the Western media?
Well, it's been for instance, take jihad. Now, jihad, what is jihad? It is a defensive war. I mean, the same, for instance, the resistance fighters in France against the Germans, when the Germans had occupied France, were heroes. Now, that war that was waged by the resistance fighters is exactly what jihad is: to protect your own country, a defensive war where you are being attacked or threatened. And of course, every religion has been exploited. You know, Islam is no exception. Christianity, I mean, look what happened in the Middle Ages. During the Inquisition, in the name of God, the people who were butchered. So I'm not talking about how the religion has been exploited. But if you understand the fundamentals of Islam, I mean, it is humanity.
Well, certain incidents in particular have contributed to this negative image. How do you feel about Salman Rushdie's predicament?
I would not, I would not sort of condemn him to death. You know, for me, my protest would be I wouldn't read the book. You know, of course, there again, the British government, in a way, you know, they should have been more careful about people's feeling. You know, the book should not have been allowed to be published, because it wasn't an interpretation of a religion. You must understand that. It was a humiliation of religion. I mean, there was no truth in what it was written. It was just a satire. It humiliated what was sacred to the Muslims. You know, and yet, I mean, I just give you an example that there was a documentary made in Britain, or was going to be shown in Britain, Death of a Princess, because it went against the Saudi Arabian monarchy, and because it was perceived to be, you know, against the British monetary interest in Saudi Arabia, it was banned in UK. And yet here was a book which was, you know, against the humiliated people's religion. People live by that religion. And Salman Rushdie knew what it was, because I read his 2 books, Midnight's Children and Shame. I mean, great books. But it shows his depth of understanding of the character of the subcontinent, and certainly the Muslim character. And how he didn't realize the reaction, I don't know.
What about the role of women in the Muslim world? Now, a number of prominent Muslim women have spoken out about the oppression of women in the Muslim world. Do you think women are suppressed or oppressed?
Women can be suppressed, and women are oppressed, not only in Muslim world, in the Western world too. When a woman bears herself to sell toothpaste in an advert, I mean, it's a suppression of woman. You know, if a woman has to wear mini skirts to show her goods to people, it leads to diseases like anorexia and bulimia, which are unheard of in our part of the world. You know, and certainly in our part of the world, too, women are suppressed in a lot of ways, which is, by the way, not Islamic. You know, for instance, in Saudi Arabia, women are not allowed to drive cars. That's nothing to do with Islam. So you see, you must differentiate what the religion says and what the culture does. They're 2 different things.
What about the purdah, the traditional women's dress?
Well, you'll be interested to know that the parda came actually from the Christian Byzantine Empire. When Islam got into touch with, touched the Byzantine Empire and the Persian Empire, the nobility of both the empires used to wear veils. In Islam, there was a concept of modesty. There was a concept of, you know, dressing, not showing off your physical attributes. Because then the emphasis changes from a man looking at a woman intellectually or character-wise, which is in fact the real essence of a person. The emphasis shifts to the body, which I completely agree with. But rather than that, you know, I felt that Muslim got a lot from other culture, and that's where the parda came from.
Right. Last year, I believe, you went on an expedition into the home of or the area of your ancestors, the Pathan tribes. Tell me about the Pathan.
Yeah, I did go. The Pathans are sort of people who are on the borders of Afghanistan and Pakistan. And they are tribal people who live by tribal laws. And a lot of, well, they ruled India for 200 years. There are also a lot of little kingdoms they set up. They became princes. But within their own land, it's a completely democratic system.
Yes,
So,
you say that they have one of the oldest democratic systems now.
you see, I had never been to the tribal area. I mean, I was one of the people who, our tribes, our families came long time ago and settled in Punjab. So, you know, it was just by chance I happened to go there. And this is when I had time, you know, I phased out cricket and I had time. So I went there. And you know, what I saw was so refreshing. I mean, apart from this social system of complete democracy, human rights, you know, the sense of honor, the values which were anti-materialism. Apart from that, I think, you know, what was so important for me was that here were a lot of people who were living by this great code of honor. And there were we in Pakistan who had abandoned all sorts of values. I mean, you know, our elite certainly has become as materialistic as anywhere in the Western world.
And how much Pathan did you find was in Imran Khan?
I suppose, I mean, the competitiveness, you know, that was very much part of the culture there. They compete a lot. They're very, they don't give in very easily. And of course, it is shown in their history. They were never conquered by anyone. The British never conquered them. Before that, the great Mughal Empire, which was partly Turkish, they never conquered them. And the Russians didn't conquer them.
I find it curious that for a race of people that were never subjugated by the British, isn't there an irony that they embraced the British sport, which was handed down through the aristocracy of the Indian subcontinent, and embraced it with such fervour?
Well, actually, not the Pathans in the tribal area. I mean, they resisted everything British. Up to a point, actually, to their own detriment, they resisted education. But they felt that the British form of education was another way of colonizing them, so they even resisted that.
Now, you've mentioned all the positive aspects of their code of honour, but there's also a lot of aggression. Revenge is very important. There is no rape, but there's also, it doesn't seem to be any possibility for romance either. And there's a story of the couple that eloped and the price that they had to pay.
Yeah, well, the society is very clear about certain things. I mean, they're very hard people. And they're hard because of the environment they live in. Well, let me just sidetrack a little bit. There is no self-pity there. I mean, I found that remarkable. I mean, I was talking to some of the elders who had fought the British. These 80, 90-year-old Pathans who had, you know, before partition had been fighting what they considered a war of independence. And they used to tell us that, you know, there were times when the British troops came, there was very little area which could be farmed. I mean, it's all very rugged country. So the moment the soldiers used to come with, you know, their firepower was so much, they would retreat into the mountains. And then they would destroy the fields and they would destroy the fruit trees and throw salt on the fields. And I said, so how awful, how cruel of them. What did you say to that? And there was no self-pity at all. They'd say, well, it was war. Yes, they were an enemy and it was war. So, you know, it was no worrying about how awful. I mean, they were prepared to fight to the end. I mean, there was no such thing. And as a result, the people, the laws are very strong. I mean, there's not much give and take. So, I mean, if a woman or a man, if they're unfaithful, that's it. You know, there is no in between. It's death.
Imran, we're running out of time, but I must ask you a couple of questions about cricket. Now, you were hailed as the consummate cricketer, but also for your impeccable sportsmanship, but not so your team. Now, how did you deal with this as captain?
You know, here again, I just want to say one thing, that, you know, there was a lot of times I felt our team was hard done by. You know, when teams used to come to Pakistan, they would complain about our umpiring. When we went abroad and complained about others' umpiring, we were told that, look, the Pakistani umpires cheat, but our umpires make mistakes. And hence, I was one of the leading supporters of neutral umpires because I felt that was the fairest system, which, mercifully, is coming right now into cricket. Because you just had a series in Australia where the South Africans were, they implied that the Australian umpires cheated. Now, I'm pleased, and I felt that our teams suffered as a result of it. Whenever teams blamed our umpires, there were cheating rows. When we said something abroad, this apart, this aspect apart, where our team got this reputation of being unsporting, which I didn't really agree with. The other problem with us was that we all came from, there were 4 languages in Pakistan. People came from different areas. And sort of to combine them together, and different backgrounds. So combine them together wasn't always easy. And yet, I was very pleased that I had a lot of respect, and they played very well under me.
Will they play in England again?
I don't know. I think actually they have announced a series in England, but England is not coming to Pakistan, which I find very strange because you see the tours on reciprocal basis. Pakistan team went to England, they made a profit of about £7 million. And England team was supposed to come to Pakistan so that the Pakistan team could make a profit, the Pakistan Cricket Board. But they are not coming this century to Pakistan. So I don't understand how the Pakistan boards negotiated it. Anyway, I hope that they sort it out.
Well, you obviously are in a position to use your influence across a vast range of issues. Now, General Zia invited you to play a role in his government, and you rejected that. Now that your Oxford contemporary is running a democracy, an unstable one at that, are you tempted to support her in her efforts?
I would support anyone who's, I believe that people are loyal to objectives rather than human beings. If someone is going in the same direction as you or me, we would be supporting each other. If your direction in life is different,
yes.
So I won't be supporting you. So I feel that anyone, if a government is trying to, I feel that the government's primary aim should be health and education in our country. I don't care what other problems we face.
All right, is politics still out of the question?
Yes, it is out of the question because, I feel that in politics you get stuck in other areas and you cannot concentrate on the real issues, like, as I'm telling you, health and education.
But you could do so much, for example, to diffuse tension between India and Pakistan.
Do you think I could? I wish I could. I would love to because so much money is spent on defense.
What about Bhutto? To her supporters, she's a strong-willed, humane leader. Her deterrents say she's a crook. What do you think of her?
I don't know enough about, what is true. Because, there are 2 opposing views. One, actually the opposition, the government and the opposition blame each other of exactly the same thing, which is corruption. You don't know who to believe. We would like to give her a chance, we, meaning people of Pakistan, because she's just come into power. Let's see what she does. And we hope that she addresses these 2 main issues, health and education.
Okay, Imran Khan, thank you very much. Now, before you go, we better address the purpose of your visit. Would you like to tell our viewers why they should contribute and how they can donate?
Well, they should contribute if they want to.
Down the barrel. There's your camera.
They should contribute if they want to. Of course, there is no such thing as necessity. And it is a cause for cancer. Cancer knows no boundaries, no class, no creed, and it can happen to anyone. And if the privileged people should contribute towards the unprivileged ones. Doesn't matter whether they are within their national boundaries or outside. And if they want to, they can give in Citibank in Margaret Street branch. They can give money in the name of Imran Khan Cancer Appeal.
Imran Khan, good luck, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. See you at the same time next week.